Hey, I'm Laura Davis, a time management strategist who helps high achieving mom CEOs just like you ditch the hot mess and level up to a six-figure mom, regardless of how much money you make. And on today's episode, we are talking all about how structure actually creates flexibility in your schedule and some of the real tangible benefits that structure gives you, even though the term structure gets a bad reputation. So, I want to make sure that before anything else, you head over to www.thelauraddavis.com/work week and you get into my free 5-day challenge, Master Your Work Week challenge. This is really going to help you set up your own structure that gives you your version of flexibility. So I want you to think about a couple of questions real quick as we dig into this. Number one, are you finding yourself pulling out your phone just to answer one more DM or email from a potential client or an existing client while your kids are begging you to run through the sprinkler with them in the front yard this summer? Number two, are you still up at midnight staring at your laptop, unable to turn off your brain because of how many things on your to-do list still are not marked off? Or do you avoid getting things done for your business, for life, around the house, for your job, because the dirty dishes and the unfolded laundry taunting you? They're staring at you from the other room. Do any of those scenarios sound familiar to you? And now I want you to think about some scenarios where maybe things were going right with your schedule. I want you to remember the last time you let out a huge sigh of accomplished relief because you finally crossed off the last item on your to do list in the same day that you made your to do list. I want you to remember the last time you felt like Wonder Woman because your day flowed the way that you had planned it to. And I get goosebumps sometimes whenever I talk about Wonder Woman because I love Gal Gadot. And every time I watch that movie, I just feel like I could literally accomplish anything. So I want to be Wonder Woman when I grow up. I also want you to remember the last time, if you're a business owner, if you're a mom CEO, the last time you had a five-figure launch because you had time to create, plan, and follow through on your marketing strategy. Imagine feeling that way every day. And there is a secret weapon that you might be overlooking, and that is structure. And so I want to talk about the definition of structure to get us started. So the dictionary defines structure several ways, but in the two ways that really spoke to me in our conversation today is one is the arrangement of and relations between the parts or elements of something complex. So think about that for a minute. The arrangement and relations between the parts of something that is complex. And I would argue that our times and our schedule are really complex. It's a very complex concept of a schedule and managing your time because there's that whole concept of everybody has the same 24 hours. And that's true. The difference between people who are able to structure their time and people who are not. So I would argue the hot mess persona versus the put together persona. The difference is how they arrange the relationship between the parts of their complex schedule, and they're able to do it really well. Another definition of structure that I really like is the quality of being organized. And the reason I like this one so much is because I want to tell you something that not a lot of people know about me. And that is that I am not a naturally organized person. I'm just not. Like when it comes to organizing drawers in the house or organizing like clothing, you'll never see me on Instagram being able to post those cute, like, look at how I organize this and look at all the little bins. Or like my pantry is not one of those cute Pinterest perfect pantries. My drawers are not, organized with all those little dividers and things like that. I am not a naturally organized person. I wish I could take you over to Harper's toy area because I do have bins for things and I have like a little TV stand with holes and the bins go in the holes. Those bins are not organized. It is definitely not like one of those cute organizational type of spaces. None of my houses, I would argue. But, but this is why I put such an emphasis on putting structure in place for my time and my schedule. And this is why I really, 7 years ago when we were going through IVF, this is why I really dug into the science and the data behind managing time, because I know that it doesn't come naturally to me. I am not a naturally organized person. And so when we start talking about structure, structure is truly the ultimate superpower for creating flexibility, especially as a high achieving working mom. So, I'm going to give you a couple of real life tangible examples of how structure can help create flexibility for you. So, number one, it reduces decision fatigue. So, a structured schedule can eliminate that constant sense of like, what should I do next? When you're constantly questioning yourself and you're asking your brain, what do I do next? You're using up a ton of energy inside of your brain, a lot of brain power that you could be using for actually getting those things done. And so by reducing this decision fatigue, by implementing structure, you are able to free up your mental energy for the tasks that truly matter, both at work, at home, and even in your business if you have one. So the second thing is that you become a prioritization powerhouse. And this is because structure really helps you identify and block time for your most important priorities. And something that I work through with all of my clients inside of Time Management Academy is we go through a step-by-step process on exactly how to prioritize things. Because this is a really common question that I get from women. It's like, how do I know what is a priority and what isn't? And that is something that I walk you through inside of Time Management Academy. And I would say, I would also argue that prioritization also gets you a really realistic view of your capacity, which is what empowers you to confidently say no when you need to, and you're not overbooking yourself. And so, if you remember capacity awareness, when I talk about the four pillars of managing your time, capacity awareness is one of those four pillars. And that's also something that we go pretty deep into inside of Time Management Academy. And then the next thing is that you have the flexibility to have more time freedom. So when you're implementing a really strong structure around your schedule and around your time, you're creating a framework that allows you to adjust on the fly without drowning in frustration and overwhelm. And I say this because life is not always going to go according to plan. And I would almost argue that especially as a working mom, life doesn't go according to plan more times than it does go according to plan. And it can be really frustrating and it can feel like something that is out of your control. And that can suddenly like throw off all of your plans, and your plans have to pivot into a complete 180. But when you have the structure in place, you can pivot like that. You can pivot on a dime, and you're able to do it without getting overwhelmed, without getting frustrated, without spiraling into, now I have to live in survival mode because things didn't go right one day. And then you just kind of give up on the rest of the week. You don't have to do that when you have the right structure in place. And then another thing is that putting structure in place actually fuels more focus for you, because you know exactly what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. And this allows you to enter into a deep state of focus, and you're able to maximize your productivity in shorter bursts. Because another thing that I talk to women about all the time, especially if you have ADHD, is that a lot of women are saying, get started on something, or I struggle to get started on something, or I'm doing something and then I get distracted and I need to do something else. When you have that structure in place, you're able to focus on one thing at one time for short bursts because your productivity is better. So then you are able to flex and move between tasks, because when you're working on one task, you have that structure in place to focus fully on that task. And so I want you to really imagine your days feeling super easy, super fluid, just kind of like you're in a groove, getting your to-do list knocked out. You have focused time on your business. You get a family date night that night, and you are able to be 100% in the moment and focused on your family, because you know that everything else that you needed to get done was able to get done earlier in the day. And it is possible to have more of those days than not. 100% possible. And so here's a first step that I want to give you. We talked about some of those tangible tips, but I want to give you probably the number one action item that I would say you can implement right now, and that is joining the Master Your Workweek challenge. This challenge gives you a starting point to build that structure that works for you. And you're really going to be amazed at how much you can achieve and enjoy achieving with just a little bit of planning. And the other thing that I wanted to share with you is something exciting. This is something new. I haven't talked about it super publicly yet. But if you want to skip all of the fluff and, the red tape, and you want to really fast track your results and you want to implement structure into your chaotic life even faster, I am launching the Schedule Accelerator on July 22nd. And this is a done for you personalized schedule that shows you how to confidently level up to accomplish your goals without sacrificing things that matter to you. And so if that's something that interests you, reach out to me on Instagram. You can message me at its.laura.davis, and I'd love to talk to you about the Schedule Accelerator. And I just want to remind you that as a working mom, you can have it all, and you can do it without the overwhelm of feeling like you have to do it all. And I can show you the way. So I will see you next week.